All right, hey guys, this is the Wing Sun Kung Fu crew, and we just did a performance yesterday at New Providence for their holiday festival, and this is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And Noah woke up really early this morning to play video games, not to practice Kung Fu.
I did practice Kung Fu anyway, though.
But what did you practice?
Duh.
What Kung Fu did you practice?
And I did Sapchi.
You did Sub Chi this morning?
No, wait, I did Jojongkun.
Yeah.
Yeah. 13.
All right, so yesterday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, what we had to do was we ran a tent with we ran a tent that basically was supposed to represent Chinese culture. And what did we do there? I guess I'll just talk because these kids are fascinated by their screen time.
It is.
So what we did was I figured what can I do, that would represent Chinese culture that's going to be cheap. And I went back to what I did this in college too, where I just wrote Chinese words on paper with my ink brush, because even though I did actually take calligraphy as a kid and I did take Chinese painting as a kid, but when I was a kid and we did Chinese painting, while everyone else was painting, I snuck under the table and tied everyone's shoelaces together. So that's kind of what I was doing. But I did pick up something, so I can write some words with a brush. And what I did was I cut out small pieces of red paper so that you could write it, and then I punched a hole through it, and you can hang it on your Christmas tree, or you could hang it up on the wall or whatever, hang it up as a decoration, because this festival is like the winter holiday festival, so I was trying to do that. And then we had some people come by, and they were like, oh, we're Jewish, but we'll hang it up on our menorah. So I guess you could hang it on your menorah too. But it's actually meant to be hung up on the wall for Chinese New Year. And the reason why it's hung up is because red scares away the Nian monster, which is the lion, the Nian, the monster that we dance. And doing the dance is supposed to scare away the Nian monster, because there was a good Nian and there was a bad Nian. And the good Nian fought off the bad Nian. So it's dawned on me before too that that's similar to the Jewish story of the Passover, where they put the blood on the door, and that makes the angel of death pass over. But anyway, I wasn't on my game for that, so we just were saying, okay, you can hang it up on your Christmas tree. And I think I don't know if I offended someone by saying that. But so we were painting these things, and basically I wrote it in pencil first on the piece of paper, and the kids, whoever came by, could trace it with the ink. And that was actually going really well. Until the ink froze. And I think ink might freeze before water does. I'm not sure about that, but it seemed like that was happening. Or maybe it was just because it was such a small amount of water on the brush that froze up first. So that stopped working. And we were also doing origami. The word is Japanese, but I'm sure that somewhere along the line, this paper folding had some Chinese influence. And even if it didn't, basically every kid in Chinatown when I was growing up could fold a few things. They could fold a crane, they could fold a ninja star, and that works too with your Christmas decorations. What was the other thing? You could fold this ball, which we didn't do much of. You could fold a frog, but I focused on the crane and the...
Papa, you can also fold a balloon. You can also fold
the ball was... Yeah. I could fold a balloon.
And you can blow it up.
Yeah. And the rabbit is similar to that too.
The rabbit, I'm the you and the rabbit, the you and the rabbit, the you and the rabbit.
Yeah, but I was so we focused on the.
You're the rabbit, you're the rabbit.
We focused on the star.
You're the rabbit.
Okay, so we focused on the star, because I thought that was the easiest thing to fold. And I think because kids do so much video games and stuff nowadays. Even though this video game is from like 2000s. I think because they do so much video games, they don't fold paper, so not like a lot of the kids could not follow the instructions for the star. So I ended up just folding a lot of stars for people, and as it got colder and colder, I was folding it less and less, correctly, and I was off. I've never been that great at origami, but I guess compared to someone who's never done it before, I can look like a master. I guess I can look like a master at writing Chinese too if you don't write Chinese or you've never bothered to pick up a brush, which a lot of people who can read and write Chinese, they might never have picked up a brush before because everything is online and stuff now. So they don't even know how to write words anymore. They just know how to like type it or
Typo.
but they're fluent in reading and writing, but they cannot really write, and they definitely can't write with a brush. It's just interesting. So we did that, and then we performed our kung fu. Or we performed our lion dance, sorry. And it was on a very small stage that is in a truck, but we still managed to do it. I'm thinking back to, the festivals in Boston, and I have seen pictures of older festivals that use that same kind of stage where you drive up in a truck and the stage falls down, and then when they leave, they just fold it back up like it's automated, and then they drive off. And it's got to be cheaper than the regular stages that are better for performing kung fu and lion dance, but ultimately any stage is going to be too small, and I always feel like it's better to be right down there with the crowd, because it just feels different when the lion head's right next to you. And I almost wanted, I feel like our performance would have done better by the tent because it was under the lights and the people were right there. And we couldn't really go on the ground by the stage because there was no lights. So nobody would have seen anything. So it was better to stay up on the stage at that point. Every time, I've been to so many festivals that I always analyze each festival I've been to. So we did okay. We are a new team. Even though I've been doing it for a while and Grace has been doing it for a while, our student has not completed even the course yet. So this is almost like a class. But I feel like you definitely learn better when you perform than if you just train. Because when you perform, you have to go with whatever's handed to you. And if you can get used to that, you'll be able to perform in any kind of environment. So I think it's important to kind of trial by fire type of learning. And so we did the lion dance, and I really feel that we needed our gong and cymbals, like a big gong and a big cymbals. I brought a small gong and small cymbals because that's what my kids can play, but I really want to get a few more people on the team so we can have gong, cymbals, lion head, and a few extra people. And when we did kung fu, I got so tired doing my form, and I wasn't really focusing as much as I should have been. And the only reason why I say that is because when Jonah did his form, he focused really hard for this last technique of the stick form that he did. Because he had just learned that form. He had just learned that technique. And to do the technique, he had to focus so hard. So as he was focused so hard in doing the technique, I was drawn into his focus. And I used to think of performing almost as you have a relationship with the crowd, and you perform, and you have to, you pause for the crowd, and you do all these moves, and the drum and the gong and the cymbals, it's like a big... It's almost like a give and take with the audience. However, if you don't have that backup, if you don't have a strong team, I feel like what you have to do is be so intent and focused in your art that you almost just are ignoring the crowd, but you're drawing that crowd into what you're doing so much that they can forget that that you don't have a strong drum, that you don't have a strong gong and cymbals. The drum itself we had was strong, but I at first Noah started drumming for me, and I think his timing would have been better if he was a little taller and he could reach the center of the drum, so he couldn't. And I was like, as I was doing my form, I'm trying to like signal to Grace to jump in the drum, and once she jumped in, I did feel better. But I guess you can't. I imagine that part of the form where I'm trying to signal to someone else to do something while I'm doing my form is not going to look that good. Instead, you should just focus on what you're doing and just do what you're doing to the best of your ability, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And even if it doesn't look good, at least you did your best. Because this performance felt like one of those throwbacks to those old Boston Chinatown things where it's like the community is just building up, and it's not even really a developed Chinatown yet. That's what it felt, and it's true. Like our team is not a developed team yet, even though we've been around for a while. We just moved down here, and another thing is I didn't bring the small head that day. And for some of the performances that we're going to have coming up in for Chinese New Year, I'm definitely bringing the small head, because as a children's team, our children's section, Noah and Jonah, they are developed. Like Noah's developed, he has that strong lion dance, and even though people automatically will look down on your team if all you have is a small head, it's like you got to be 3 times, 10 times better than an adult team. To even catch the attention of the audience, because they're like, oh, it's just a small head. Unless they're lion dancers. Unless they can see, okay, he's doing his Caitlin bow. Okay, that's really clear movement. Like a big head, they'll automatically think of it as better, even if you don't really know as much about what you're doing. So I'm going to bring the small head and then maybe have more interaction between the big head and the small head, because people aren't going to really put out a choi chiang here. You got to put out your own choi chiang, your own food to eat. So you need to have some kind of a storytelling to go along with, you can't just freestyle the storytelling aspect of your performance when you're a beginner like that. That's another thing that I took away from this performance. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And now it's like, when's the next performance? And I don't know, all of the ones that are coming up are Chinese New Year, which feels like really far away.